The night the Polish codebreakers cracked the Enigma, a dozen men in a cramped Warsaw office heard the first echo of a secret that would change a war. They were not the famous British analysts at Bletchley, yet their breakthrough lit the path that would later save millions. It was a winter evening in late 1932. The room above the Bureau of Telecommunications in Warsaw smelled of damp paper and coal smoke. In that dim light, a young mathematician named Marian Rejewski stared at a pile of intercepted radio traffic, each ciphered message a knot of German intent. He was alone, but the weight of the unknown pressed like a winter wind against his shoulders. The Enigma machine, still a marvel of German engineering, had been sending encrypted telegrams that no one could read. Yet the Polish cryptologists had one advantage: they had access to a captured cipher machine, a relic that would become the cornerstone of their work. Beat 1: The first breakthrough. Rejewski began by studying the machine's rotor wiring. He realized that the Enigma's encryption depended on a series of permutations, a labyrinth of letters that could be mapped if one had a key. With the help of a mechanical engineer, he built a model of the rotor and used a series of logical deductions to determine the wiring. The breakthrough came when he discovered a method to deduce the daily key from a single message, using the concept of the Enigma's plugboard and the known daily key changes. This was not a moment of luck, but of relentless deduction, of a mathematician turning a puzzle into a map. The significance of this first break cannot be overstated. For the first time since the machine's introduction in 1925, the Germans had a way to read their own encrypted traffic. It was a quiet triumph, a secret that would later echo across the Atlantic. Yet even as Rejewski and his colleagues celebrated, the world was moving toward war. Beat 2: The Polish team and the mechanical aid. The Polish effort did not stop at the rotor wiring. A young engineer, Jerzy Rzycki, proposed a device that would speed up the process of checking key permutations, a mechanical cipher machine that could test thousands of possibilities per hour. This machine, an early form of a computing device, became a staple in the Warsaw office. It was not as sophisticated as the later British bomb, but it was a bridge between pure mathematics and practical engineering. Meanwhile, a third mathematician, Henryk Zygalski, devised a technique using perforated sheets, or grills, that could quickly eliminate impossible key settings. These three individuals, Rejewski, Rzycki, and Zygalski, were the core of the Polish cryptanalysis team. They worked in secrecy, their findings kept from the outside world by a tight circle of trust. Their work was not just academic, it was a lifeline for the Polish government, which was aware that its enemies would soon seek to break its codes. Beat 3: The diplomatic tension. Poland's position in the interwar period was precarious. The country bordered the Soviet Union and Germany, both of whom had sophisticated intelligence services. The Polish government realized that its own code-breaking work could become a bargaining chip. In 1939, as the threat of invasion loomed, the Polish cryptologists decided to share their discoveries with Britain and France. The decision was fraught with risk, revealing their methods could compromise the security of their own communications. In a clandestine meeting, the Polish team handed over copies of their rotor tables and a detailed description of their decryption techniques. They also provided a working model of their mechanical device to the British. This act of cooperation was a gamble that would pay dividends. The British would later use this knowledge as the foundation for their own code-breaking machines, while the Polish would suffer the consequences of the war. Mid-story turn: the unseen impact. A documented fact that reshapes the narrative is that the Polish cryptanalysis work was the first to expose the Enigma's vulnerabilities to the Allied powers. When the Germans later upgraded the machine's plugboard and added a fourth rotor, the Polish methods remained relevant because the underlying rotor permutations were unchanged. This meant that the Allies could adapt the Polish techniques to the new Enigma variants. The Polish contribution, therefore, was not a one-off triumph but a lasting framework that the British would expand upon. Beat 4: The transition to Bletchley. In the spring of 1940, after the fall of France, the British intelligence community, led by a young mathematician named Alan Turing, began constructing a more powerful machine, the bomb. Turing's design was directly inspired by the Polish mechanical device. The British engineers incorporated the Polish rotor tables into the bomb's architecture, allowing the machine to test thousands of key settings per minute. The result was a rapid increase in the number of decrypted German messages, giving the Allies a strategic advantage in the Atlantic and on the Eastern Front. Beat 5. The Moral Quandary. The story takes a darker turn when we consider the fate of the Polish cryptologists. After the German invasion of Poland, the Polish government in exile fled to France and then to Britain. Many of the code breakers were captured or killed, while others continued their work in exile. The British, in turn, kept the source of their early success a secret for decades, fearing that exposing the Polish contribution could jeopardize national security. This secrecy meant that the Polish mathematicians remained in obscurity while the British celebrated the triumph of Bletchley. Ending the unresolved legacy. Today, historians still debate the exact extent of the Polish influence on the Allied success in decoding Enigma. Some argue that the Polish work was the decisive factor, while others emphasize the ingenuity of the British team. The unanswered question that lingers is, what would have happened if the Polish cryptologists had not shared their findings? Would the Allies have found a way to break the Enigma in time? The echo of that decision still reverberates through the corridors of history, a haunting reminder that the price of secrecy can be measured in lives. The story ends not with a neat resolution, but with a lingering sense of what might have been, a question that invites every viewer to ponder the fragile threads of wartime intelligence.